Robert Michael Wallace again from the Precept. You're tuning in to another portion of information on what will transform your life, interdimensional realities in you, going interdimensional for the first time. Watch it. So, hopefully you've seen the videos before this. If you haven't, and even if you have, each video is just as crazy as the one before it, sounding. But what I'm actually telling you and communicating with you, if you're ready for it, has the power to change your life. It will open up a sixth sense for you. Now, I wouldn't want you to worry that you're necessarily opening up doors to demons and things of this nature. Everything there is in the spiritual world that can be seen, I mean, it's just like here. We have good guys and bad guys here. We don't close our eyes to the bad guys. We're prone to deception here, just as we are in the spiritual world and vice versa. That's no excuse not to pursue the spirit. If you're not ready for it, if you don't want it, don't pursue it. Nobody should force you into it. Nobody should convince you against your will. But if you just need a little encouragement to know that, you know, you can navigate this and it can be navigated with love, then I'm here to tell you that, okay? If you've watched the preceding videos, then you've heard me describe how to take an ordinary houseplant and shift your vision through that in the astral light, as explained, to enter ultimately into the spirit of a plant. And what you see there is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. You probably, if your feet are on the ground, you probably don't believe anything I'm saying. You probably think I'm hallucinating and these sorts of things, and that's fine. It's normal. It's very common. But it is a byproduct of the brainwashing that society has undergone, while the upper classes who practice clairvoyant sight, who have a spiritual vision, while they look upon us and dumb down our media and extract the meaning and the wisdom from our religions, and while every church and every church corner, more or less, for the most part, is devoid of any true spirituality in their religion, it's no wonder that I'm going to be the crazy guy that says this. But there are others who substantiate it, and there's a lot of resources that I can point you toward. I just want to help get you through the door, through the thing, put out what I wish I would have seen. Okay? Because I did this all from books and audiobooks. And and they were old ancient books, 100-year-old books or more. Okay? And that's great if you like to study into the stuff like I do, but if you want simplified language, then you're going to want to hear this. So, I've already showed you shifting your vision on this, entering into plant spirit. Now, the next thing I did that night after I came home and I entered into the orchid is I thought to myself, you know, I'm going to turn off the lights, time to go to sleep. This astral light is so bright, I should be able to see it in the dark. I mean, it makes the bright room dark, for crying out loud. So surely it's visible in the dark. So I did just that. Turned off the lights, sat on the bed, looked toward another plant I had adjacent to it, and began to go into this relaxed, zoned out state that we discussed, complete with the focus on the astral light of the moon, with no thoughts on anything else. Every thought is another veil, is another screen, is another filter between you and these other dimensions. That's why most people, they never really perceive it in their whole life, because they don't go a single moment without having a thought that is stimulated by sensations, stimulated by fears, desires, these sorts of things. That's what makes this state of mind very significant and very different from anything you're going to experience really on accident. Okay, so this has to be a purposeful thing that you're doing. So look at that plant, and what do I see above where the plant stands. Now, at that moment, I didn't see the plant. Maybe I did see the plant, but more specifically, what I saw was a purple cloud. Yes, a purple, iridescent, sparkly-looking cloud floating over the plant, about right here. Okay, maybe a little bit higher. It's a very wide cloud. Now, all the things I'm telling you about the being in the orchid plant, about this purple cloud, about these different stages, they're all explained by Rudolf Steiner in great detail. He is a master at this. I'm not a master at this. I have personal experiences, and I'm experiencing it daily, and I'm learning to master parts of this. But I'm definitely just introduction level material for you, and we're going to point you in the right direction. That purple cloud, though, floating over that plant took me by surprise. I had not yet read this in Steiner's writings. And I'm looking at it glowing and hovering, and I see something in the cloud. It's like flip-flapping. It's like This is when I started to see these other beings. So I said to myself in that moment, if this being is veiled in light, in this astral light, I wonder what else lives on that same plane of astral light that is also veiled. So I take my vision away from the plant. I look into the dark doorway into the living room, which, over there would be through here. It was a different place, and then I started to see forms and shapes and beings, some wafting-looking cloud-like forms of light, beings on the floor, a marsupial-looking being who ran up and into me. Different lights in different shapes, and it's very difficult to describe. And the reason, and this is the main reason why this information remains occult or hidden, simply because it is hidden from our physical world vernaculars. The language that we have is designed and has been developed around describing physical phenomena of the physical world. So when you start to try to apply that to these more or less ineffable, intangible, incorporeal things, that is, unspeakable, untouchable, and non-physical beings and entities, then you're entering into a whole nother field of texture that surpasses regular descriptive language. And so we will use various terms to try to describe their nature and their characteristics, like wafting or cloud-like. With reference to light, I mean, it is like a whitish light. Darkness, it's like an inverted, light, it's dark, So, but it's like, well, how do you see a dark being in a dark room? So there's certain things that doesn't make sense until you actually see it, and that's why the language is imperfect, but it will get you in the door, okay? And if you focus it, if you can get your mind this is the way I like to think of it. When it comes to silencing your mind, in order to have this experience, I think of it like a hovering ball. And it's hung by all these strings, like maybe it's in a cube. And there's strings coming from every dimension just to ensure that it's hovering. One here and here, one here and here. And they're all... Now, each one of these strings in this analogy, and how I'm trying to explain how to keep your thought floating in a state, your mind floating in a state of non-thought, is actually an idea. It's a concept, okay, or a principle. And the concept says that don't think about what you want. Now, and of course, the back behind these ideas is an actual education as to what a desiring thought does. And people who study meditation know it. Oh, desirous thoughts create problems. So we know, don't have a thought of desire. Well, now we know, don't have a thought of worry. Now we know, don't have a concern for yourself. Don't have a thought of bewilderment. Don't have a thought of wonder. Don't have a thought of astonishment. Don't have a thought of curiosity. And once we begin to justify removing any and all kinds of thoughts that would come up, then we're in a position to rebuke the thoughts as they happen to sustain that state of non-thought. And that is very important, Because if you're missing just one string, all of a sudden it's going to carry you over into its side. You're not going to be hovering, floating in the state of non-thought. Come back again, because I'm going to go deeper into this.